Hey everyone, welcome to Wrestle Recap. My name is Michelle Tate.
My name is Justin Tate.
And we are the only brother-sister duo that takes you on the journey of wrestling throughout the decades.
And we have a fantastic time doing it. But before we get into today's show, we got to talk about some current wrestling. What do you got on tap for us this week?
Yeah, man, like a lot of cool stuff happened. So number one on this front, Lily, the doll, made an appearance on Raw in the background. So to me, that's pretty clear that Alexa is on her way, or at least I'd like to think. What do you think?
I mean, these things aren't accidents, and especially with all the Wyatt stuff that they've done in the background. You know, for a while you could see Nikki Cross just wandering around aimlessly, and you saw the QR codes. So this is no accident, and unless they're just being really mean to us, yeah, here we go.
That would be so mean. I would never watch again, and I mean it this time. I said I wouldn't watch again if they took Cody's main event away and gave it to The Rock. And so luckily they listened to me and they
Of course, you're the one who was talking about it online.
Exactly. Braun Breaker lost his IC title to Jey Uso, who hasn't had a singles title in 14 years. That kind of surprised me.
Yeah, no, I mean, I thought that maybe, you know, they'd have a good match, but that was about it. But Jey Uso coming out on top. Good for him. That's great.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that just kind of surprised me because I feel like Braun Breaker hasn't had it for very long. Like, am I wrong? Like, or am I just old and time goes faster now? Like,
I think both are correct.
Oh, great. Well, we've been talking about it, but Mr. McMahon came out this week, and honestly, I've only watched 2 episodes so far. I didn't realize it was going to be like multi-episodes. I thought it was going to be like maybe 2 parts. But yeah, there's nothing really too juicy yet. You know, in the beginning of the first episode, he kind of talks about like his childhood. And I'm like, oh, I get it. But yeah, it's really more of a history of WWE at this point, which is great for anyone. Like, our show is perfect for anyone who wants to listen to the fun version of the first 2 episodes.
Well, you're saying all that sadness and controversy doesn't just bring a smile to your face?
Well, see, that's the thing is there's not even really sadness or controversy. It's really I feel like it's been more about Hulk Hogan than it's been about Vince McMahon. And so yeah, we haven't gotten into the nitty gritty yet. I know you haven't had a chance to watch yet, so
not yet, but I'm planning to this weekend. I actually have a rare weekend with hardly anything scheduled, so I think maybe a binge watch session this weekend is in order.
Yeah, I think I might finish it tonight. I don't know, but anyway, over on the AEW side, we've got officially Bryan Danielson versus Jon Moxley at Wrestle Dream. I don't know if you've been tuning in lately, but Jon Moxley looks cut. Like, he is in shape. He is massive.
Yeah, I don't know what he's been doing. I don't know what kicked him in the butt, but I mean, he is a big man right now.
Yeah, so I got to ask you, Justin. I have thoughts. Boy. Who do you think wins at Wrestle Dream?
I'll just say Moxley. Why not? I mean, if I'm wrong, I'm happy to be wrong because we get Bryan Danielson for a little bit longer. What about you?
I'm saying Moxley, and I think, like, unless they're just going to completely swerve me the way they did with Swerve, I think that's
Do you swerve when you drive?
Hey, whose house? I forgot I was wearing the shirt. But I think that Bryan just, Tony convinced him that he needed the title for at least a small amount of time. I think he needs that neck surgery. And this whole thing they're doing with Moxley in the BCC won't work if he loses. So, and I feel like Moxley is a person that Danielson would be like, I pick you to lose to because you are like, you've been here since the beginning. Like, you are AEW, like the face. And so that's my thought.
I think it makes total sense. We'll see here in just a few weeks.
Yes. Oh my gosh. But anyway, do you have anything for us? Current wrestling news?
I do. It's not directly wrestling related, but it pretty much is. So some of you might know Kate from Fightful.
Yeah.
And I follow her. The Wrestle Stats account follows her. And there was some guy who was talking crap to her on Twitter this week. And her response, I don't care if this didn't take place on a wrestling show, her response was perfect. Her response was, I'm going to have sex with your father so he can have a kid he's proud of.
Boom.
That's it. That's all you need to say. I mean, shut down your computer there. You're not going to see anything better on Twitter that night. I guarantee you. Right here.
I was about
right
to
here.
say,
Nice little...
I mean, if you can impress Justin with your humor and your comebacks, you're doing good. So good job, Kate.
Also, a quick shout out to Leilani Kai, who is recovering from hip replacement surgery. You can find her on Twitter, send her some well wishes, and she's actually also selling photographs instead of a GoFundMe. So you get something if you want to send a little jingle her way. So go check her out on Twitter, Leilani Kai. We've covered her several times on the show here, and you're going to see her again here tonight.
Oh, yeah. And like, good for her for like having a hip surgery like now. Like, she lasted a long time because, you know, those bumps. I would have a hip surgery by the time I'm 35. I know.
Right.
All right, Justin.
Well, you ready to do this thing?
I sure am. But first, we got to get in that time machine and go back to 1988. Pee-wee.
Every time my ears pop, I don't understand why that happens.
If you chew gum, it helps.
That's right. I'll also yawn a lot.
Yeah.
So that's good. So the show we're talking about today is the WWF Royal Rumble 1988. It took place January 24th, 1988 from the Cops Coliseum in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. That Coliseum now known as the First Ontario Centre. Attendance was around 18,000, which is really, really good. And our commentators for the night are Vince McMahon and Jesse the Body Ventura. Of course, the number one song on this day in 1988 is the same as it was last week. We'll explain that in a second. Michelle, you got a sound cue. Tell them what it was. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's right. It's Need You Tonight by NXS. You got to love it. And you previously mentioned, Michelle, that the top toy at this time was the original Nintendo.
Right.
Well, at the time, I looked this up, a brand new Nintendo cost $179, which doesn't sound like much for a gaming system, but in today's money, that is just over $500.
I mean, I bought a PS5 for Mark a while back, and I think it was about $500, so that makes sense. Yeah,
makes sense.
Yeah, well, let's get into the background of this show. So, as we mentioned on last week's episode covering the NWA Bunkhouse Stampede, because that was a happening, Justin.
Mm-hmm.
Well, WWF intentionally scheduled this show to air on the same day as the Bunkhouse Stampede in effort to eat into that show's pay-per-view buys, not Vies. I was thinking of Vince McMahon and I said Vies because I was thinking about all the competition that was talked about in these first two episodes and how like he knew what he was doing, but then it pissed him off when someone did it to him. So anyway,
right.
Instead of airing this show on pay-per-view, the first Royal Rumble aired for free on the USA Network. So if you had cable, you had this show. And, you know, Justin and I kind of talked about like, do we cover this one? Because it's not technically a pay-per-view, but we had to. We just had to.
Yeah, I mean, it's part of the Royal Rumble. If we're going to be covering the greatest Royal Rumble from Saudi Arabia, we're covering this one that was, you know, on basic cable.
I forgot about that one. You had to remind me that existed.
Yeah, it's pretty terrible.
Well, we'll get into some more of the history about the Rumble match itself once we get to that point in the show. But Justin, I need you to hit me. Hit me with some. There you go.
Ooh, that sounded like a hard hit. I'm so sorry.
Oh.
I'll be more dainty next time.
Dainty.
On this show, there are 30 wrestlers. Now, you might be thinking, wait, the Royal Rumble has 30 people in it. No. This one had 20 people in it because it was the first one. So total of 30 wrestlers on the show, 21 of them are still alive for a smooth 70%. Really good on that one. I'm pretty happy with that one. Now, out of all the WWF pay-per-views we've watched so far, we've seen 93 wrestlers on WWF pay-per-view. 51 of them are still alive for a percentage of 54, almost 55%. And out of all the pay-per-views that we have watched, regardless of company, 164 wrestlers, 92 of which are still alive for a grand percentage of 56.09%. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We still standing.
Still standing, man.
Now, unfortunately, there are two wrestlers who have kind of made a splash on this pay-per-view and the previous one, and then we're not going to see them on any pay-per-views during this journey again, and that would be the Jumping Bomb Angels, Itsuki Yamazaki and Norio Tetino. This is their swan song on our podcast here. Are you going to be sad to see them go?
Hell yeah, I'm going to be sad. I mean, they're like the first super interesting, like, female wrestlers we've had so far. I mean, I don't know. I mean, yeah, like Wendy Richter and Velvet McIntyre, those were great, but I feel like these have more of a character to them. And so, yeah, that makes me sad.
Well, this is also the final, actually the only appearance that we're going to see on WWF pay-per-views of the WWF World Women's Tag Team Championship. Now, you might be thinking, hey, they have one of those. It's considered a completely different championship. This version of it, we see it on this one pay-per-view and then never again.
Is it because they switched to WWE and that's why this one's different? Or is it more
No,
complicated?
actually, you will find out more at the end of this show what happened to that championship.
I won't give any spoilers because I really don't know.
So don't go anywhere, Michelle. Jeez.
I'm not going to scroll down to the notes that you've added because I try to not read your notes so that I'll like be fresh and I want to hear everything for the first time.
You're a professional.
I am. I mean,
yes.
I've never been called professional before, so thank you, Justin.
Anytime. Let's get into the show here. We open with a crowd shot from above covered up by a fancy, regal-looking Royal Rumble logo. Very fancy looking. We also hear some sleazy saxophone music. Now, that's the music that WWE uses to dub over Ravishing Rick Rude's theme because of rights issues. And as we can barely see from that high up shot, the participants in the first match are already in the ring, which is why Rick Rude's music was playing. Then we get a series of photos voiced over by Vince McMahon previewing the action tonight. Let me ask you this. I was looking at those photos. Did some of those photos look like they've been taken during this event and then inserted after the fact?
Yes. And that confused me because I was thinking, am I supposed to, like, this normally happens at the end of the show. And then I was like, okay, were these from a previous show? But then the venue looked the same. So I guess so. Maybe it's just something that they did for Peacock or for like viewing later. I don't know.
Yeah, could be. Well, we now go to Vince McMahon and Jesse Ventura. They're on that raised commentary stand near the entrance. Now, this is the first time that we've seen Vince on commentary on the pay-per-views that we've watched. And he's on the desk for this show because Gorilla Monsoon had suffered a minor heart attack and was at home recovering. So how did you feel about Vince on commentary for this show?
Well, first of all, I was like, where the hell is Gorilla? And so you answered
it was
that
happening.
His heart was happening, or maybe it wasn't happening.
Yeah.
I don't know. But as for Vince, like, he didn't do a terrible job, but the chemistry felt so off. And like, he had some comments that I will address later. I'm sure you will address them too. But also, like, right off in the beginning, I couldn't hear at all what they were saying because the balance of the mics and the music, I was just like, I don't know, the music was so loud. I had no idea what they were saying. But for the rest of the show, again, it was fine. At least he knew better than all the Susans and Elvira and stuff. But I don't know. Chemistry felt off. What do you think?
Yeah, no, you know what? When I was a kid, the two commentators who I just always had ringing in my ear was Gorilla Monsoon and Vince McMahon. And while Gorilla did have his Gorilla-isms, Vince certainly gets his Vince-isms, which I'm sure we will hear over the years when he does more and more commentary. So to me, it was a little bit nostalgic. I also think that the chemistry might have been a little weird since he is Jesse the Body Ventura's boss.
Yeah.
So I don't know if maybe that created a little bit of something there. I don't know.
I think about if they put like Tony on commentary, that would be interesting. Like he would know what to
Tony
talk
Khan.
about. Yeah. Like he would know what to talk about, but but also Justin, my mind was blown. So Mark and I are watching and we push pause and we're Googling where the hell was Gorilla Monsoon and we couldn't find an answer. But we never, ever realized that the gorilla position backstage was named after him. We thought it was gorilla, like Guer, like a war, like you're going to war because it's the production chair. Oh my God, It's named after Gorilla Monsoon. I feel so stupid.
Yeah, and he would sit back there in that position, giving wrestlers time cues and telling them when to enter and that sort of thing. So they named the whole thing after him. I think in WCW, they called it the go position just because Gorilla Monsoon was never there.
Yeah.
But I think even to this day, AEW calls it the Gorilla position. I'll get this word out eventually. Position. Thank you.
Someone's remixing over here. Remix.
Yeah, I know.
Wow.
I know. I think my needle is skipping.
I don't want to know anything about your needle. I was like, I don't want to think about your needle, man.
All right, let's get into the first match.
Yes, that clip's going on Twitter. Yes, let's get into the first match. Now, it is Ravishing Rick Rude versus Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. They've got some... They missed an opportunity. They should have called this the Big Rick Energy match.
Oh,
come on. Well,
all right.
Our participant...
Big needle energy.
Again, I don't want to think about your needle skipping. Oh, Lord, it's hot in here, Justin. Well, Rick Rude and Ricky Steamboat were both seen on the Survivor Series 1987 that we've already covered. So if you want to know any more about them, go back actually several episodes because Ricky and Rick have been around for a long time. But Justin, the ladies are loving this match. It is the battle of the Schmexy Rickies. If you had to pick a Rick, which one did you think was hotter? Which one was more appealing to you, Justin?
You know, Rude's just not really my type. I mean, you know, the mustache would just tickle, you know, and
tickle your needle.
Yeah, exactly. That's a phrase the kids use, right? That doesn't really tickle my needle.
No, I just don't like
it. Okay, so that's a question that I actually had for you. So a lot of ladies are really into Rick Rude, and I look at him and I go, well, I mean, he's got a nice body, but like, he doesn't seem, is he considered an attractive man?
In my opinion, like, okay, I can tell he's like 80s attractive, like in the face and the mustache and stuff. But to me, he's too ripped. It's kind of like a Brian Cage. Like, I'm like, that's too much. And really, even Brian Cage looks like he has some more meat to him. Like, you can see Rick Rude's ribs. Like, you can tell that man doesn't eat carbs. He doesn't drink water, nothing. And so I prefer Ricky Steamboat because he's a little more filled out. He seems softer to like lean against on the couch, and he's very smooth. Like his complexion, because Rick Rude, he got some of that acne going on. But I don't know. I just have always had a thing for Ricky Steamboat, so that's my choice.
You have thought this out way more than I ever thought that you would have.
It's because I knew I was going to ask you, so I had to think about it myself because I knew I was going to have to answer it as well.
Well, Steamboat's in a karate uniform. Rude has the mullet and the mustache, and clearly there's not a dry seat in the house.
What?
So,
There's this lady. I'm sure her seat was not dry. This lady on the front row has a has a Jimmy Hart megaphone, and it actually works. And like, she must have been rich because she didn't have to roll up her program like we talked about, you know, last week or whenever that was. She didn't have to use the paper. She had an actual freaking megaphone. And like, how is this not confiscated? Like, she was giving her own commentary. Like, okay, like, what would happen if I did that? Like, if I brought a megaphone to a show today, they'd take it at the door at the metal detectors.
Yeah, no, I have no idea. And it seemed like by the time the second match rolled around, somebody had either told her put it away or they had taken it from her. But for this entire first match, she is talking into that microphone, giving random comments. And not only that, but I mean, she's easy to see. And you can see her. She had one of those baseball caps from the 80s that has a pair of stuffed hands on the front.
Oh my gosh, I did.
And you can pull a string up and down to make the hands clap. I swear to God, the megaphone and that hat, she is the worst person in the building that night.
No, Justin.
Freaking.
She was fantastic. What are you talking about? Do you have a hat that claps? Like, I want one of those.
Listen, okay, you know how like we around Mardi Gras time, we'll watch the Earth Cam view of that street in New Orleans.
Yes.
And you'll see all sorts of stuff. You'll see fights and you'll see people getting sick from drinking too much. But you'll also see preachers standing on the corner with a megaphone, and nobody wants to hear what they have to say. They're not there for that. It's the same situation here.
I mean, I guess so, but that is really weird you brought that up because I meant to talk to you before we start recording and be like, I'm ready for Mardi Gras time so we can watch the Earth Cam because Obviously, Justin and I are so lame. We don't actually go to Mardi Gras. We watch it on TV and judge people.
Yeah, I mean, what's better? You can get the best parts of it sitting on your couch, eating your own food and drinking your own sodas. It's great.
That's how you know we're lame, Justin. We're lame.
Hey, if lame is wrong, I don't want to be right.
Isn't that like a song? If loving you is wrong, loving you, that's it. Well, Ricky Steamboat, he's wearing white pants with like white underwear over them. Interesting choice, but I guess he just like didn't want to get like it all bunched up in his pants like a diaper inside. I don't know.
Could be. I mean, he's just taking care of his needle. That's the pin cushion.
Oh my God. We can never say the word needle again. Like now I can never hear that word.
Now, speaking of his tights on a roll up, Rick Rude complains to referee Dave Hebner that Steamboat grabbed his tights, which is silly because the only time Ricky Steamboat will grab your tights is when he's about to steam and press them before hanging them up for you.
But I like it.
Because he's that nice.
He's so nice. Well, this match was overall pretty slow. I mean, there were like a few quicker paced little shining moments, but overall, like, I felt like this match could have been more because they were both pretty big at the time, you know? And so I also thought, and I don't mean this in a bad way, this match felt more NWA style, which makes it not fit in with the other matches, so it makes it feel weird, I guess. I know that Rick Rude had Steamboat. It's so hard to have Rick and Ricky. I'm just going to call him Steamboat from now on. Rick had Steamboat in 2 different reverse chin locks, and they look bad. And I mean, they were zoomed in, and like, you can tell he has no pressure on Ricky at all. And I don't know.
Yeah, and I feel like somehow that people get away with that more today. But back then, it was like, that was definitely weird to see. Question, in a camel clutch, who is the camel? Or is the guy on top the hump?
I thought the guy on top was the man riding the camel. Like I didn't.
But if that guy's the camel, there's no hump because he's not a camel.
You know, you're right. I don't have an answer to that. So I guess the guy is the hump. Man, I've never thought about that. See, I sit here and analyze which one I would pick out of the 2 Ricks. This is what you do. Yeah,
it's semantics, I know, but I watch a lot of wrestling.
I know that. I know. Well, there was a moment where it was pretty good. It was one of those shining moments I was talking about where Steamboat was ramming Rick Rude's face into the turnbuckle several times, but the camera was shooting from beneath, like almost from the ground. And so we could see Rick Rude's face actually making contact with that turnbuckle, and it looked good. It looked painful.
Yeah, definitely. You got to love when they get just the nice, perfect shot of the perfect thing. It's really good.
Oh, yeah. And like, I don't know how else to say this, but there was this moment. You probably know what the move is called because you always do. Anytime there's like a move, I'm like, that doesn't have a name. You know it. So basically, Ricky Steamboat lifted up Rick Rude's entire body via backbend. You remember backbends? We had to do them like in PE where you put your hands on the ground above your head and like push yourself up into an arch. Like he picked up.
We should see if we could still do that.
I couldn't do that back then. What are you talking about? I couldn't even do that when I was like 9. But anyway, that was just hella impressive because you got to be, like I said, I can't even do it with my own body weight. I definitely couldn't raise another person doing that.
Yeah, and he also got from a position of lying on the ground to standing up with Rick Rude on his shoulders so he could do the electric chair to him. Ricky was hella strong.
Hella strong, man. And I mean, the match got exciting toward the end. There were multiple like near falls back to back, and that's when the audience really woke up. And that's also when I woke up too.
Yeah. No, tons of near falls towards the end. Dave Hebner's arm must have needed ice afterwards because he was slamming that thing down a lot.
Yeah, dude. Well, I was really confused at the end at the first because, whoa, now I'm being the skipping remixer by the end at first because they said that Ricky submitted to Rick Rude. Like Rick Rude had him kind of like up on his shoulders. And they were like, oh, you know, it's a submission. Rick Rude wins. And I was so confused. I was like, when did he do that? And then they clarified that because Rick Rude moved, he made the ref get knocked out by Ricky Steamboat. So Ricky Steamboat, he won by DQ in 17 minutes and 39 seconds. I felt like this match, It was a pretty good length. I felt like it was a good opener for the show, but it's not the Royal Rumble. That's just all.
Yeah, it like you said earlier, I felt like these two could have had a more exciting match. Of course, the crowd's always behind Steamboat, but just wanted a little bit more and maybe shave off like 2 minutes. That would have been it.
Yeah, all of those slow moments, it was kind of like all of those holds, I call it the mercy when they're holding hands with their fingers interlocked. That took up a lot of time. So,
yeah.
But you know what else took up a lot of time, Justin? It was the Dino Bravo bench press segment. Oh my God.
This is one of the worst pay-per-view segments I've ever seen anywhere, ever.
I mean, I will get into my anger about this, but let me tell you about it first. So, Mean Gene Mean, is the announcer for this, quote, world record breaking, end quote, segment. And Jesse Ventura has stepped in to be the spotter for Dino Bravo, who will be bench pressing more than anyone else in the world.
Right. And I want to put in there too, just because we haven't seen him before, Dino Bravo was out there with his manager, Frenchie Martin, who we haven't talked about on here. Frenchie Martin out here, he basically spends all of his mic time speaking in French because he's very Frenchy.
Yeah, at first I just thought I thought he was speaking English but had an accent and I just couldn't understand them. I was like, oh, there's a reason.
That's what it sounded like.
Yes, exactly. So first of all, it wasn't about breaking a world record because the Guinness people would have had to be there to witness it, you know?
Good point.
Number two, Dino Bravo has this weird Ken doll hair and it looks like it's glued on in one clump to his head because it's so damaged.
Well, there is that, but there's also a bigger question about his looks here. Why did Dino have to do this bench press thing in his wrestling boots and trunks? Like, if I were lifting that much weight, I'd be wearing like layers because I'm afraid that I'd push so hard I'd have a blowout.
You could borrow Ricky Steamboat's diaper. There you go.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, I didn't even notice he had his wrestling gear on, but well, he comes out later, which is kind of weird, but maybe that's why. He just didn't have time to recover and change clothes. But Justin,
maybe so.
This is so drawn out. He is bench pressing over and over with weight like being added each time. And it's so funny because they're doing like 50-pound increments. And I'm like, that is so dumb. Because if you actually bench press like I did, because I was in CrossFit, so I have to tell everybody, it's like 5-10 pounds at a time tops. Like you don't increase by 50. But like he would get into position and you're like, okay, finally he's going. And then he would stand up again and demand silence. And I just want to know, Justin, who the hell thought this was a good idea? Like, it's boring. It's not legit. It's not even wrestling related. And then he storms off for the last big record breaking lift. And so it sucks.
I don't know. And like every time that they're adding weight, Gene asks Jesse, okay, how much weight is he doing now? And Jesse has to like stop and count like 50. And it's like, oh my God, this is so terrible. But finally, Dino, he gets talked into coming back after he stormed off for the record-breaking bench press. But Jesse clearly helped him pull it off. Like he's kind of pushing it up and struggling. And then Jesse, who's spotting him, grabs it and does more than spot him. He yanks that thing up onto the thing.
Yeah, that wasn't even legit.
Yeah, and Vince mentioned that a lot of times on commentary throughout the night.
Oh, well, I don't know if that was Vince's idea, but it was terrible. It was a terrible idea. And I have no idea why that was on the pay-per-view. It's like they could have added probably 2 or 3 more matches with all the fill-in time wasting they did to like just burn time, you know? But yeah, I mean, this is kind of a fun aspect of it. Every time I hear of Dino Bravo, I think of Johnny Bravo, and not the cartoon that was on Cartoon Network. No, I think of Greg Brady's like alter rock star ego, you know, like he sang like this song right here. Barry Williams.
I don't remember that. I don't remember that at all.
You don't remember? Oh my gosh. So I watched so much Brady Bunch as a kid, and I would watch it on Nick at Night, and they had the pop-up videos. So like you'd watch it and that's cool. Like little factoids would pop up. And I remember like every night I just wanted to watch that, and then Happy Days would come on. But yeah, Greg Brady, he decided he was gonna be a rock star, and his name was Johnny Bravo, and it was totally lame. I think him and the kids even won $20,000 or something at one point. I don't know. But did you like Nick at Night? What was your favorite Nick at Night show?
My favorite Nick at Night show, my go-to was either the Mary Tyler Moore Show
Good one.
or Green Acres.
Oh, Green Acres is so freaking funny. Like when I watch it now, like it's funny. And then, yeah, mine was obviously Brady Bunch and Happy Days. That Fonzie man, he's just so cool. But
it weirds me out because I believe, I'd have to go back and look, but I believe I'm older now than Ed Asner was when he was on the Mary Tyler Moore Show.
oh God. Well, it's like I texted you today that Kevin Arnold, aka Fred Savage, is now 47, which is older than the dad was at the end of Wonder Years.
Oh my God.
Like that's
insane.
Just kill me now, because life
right?
is terrible after this point.
Well, let's go to the next match here. We have a 2 out of 3 falls tag team match for the WWF World Women's Tag Team Championship. The champions, the Glamour Girls, with their manager, Jimmy Hart, versus the Jumping Bomb Angels. And as I mentioned before, this is the only time we're going to see this title defended on pay-per-view, and it's the final time that we will see the Jumping Bomb Angels. We saw everybody in this match on Survivor Series in 1987, so nothing new there. But going into the match, the Glamour Girls are the tag team champions. Mm-hmm. But they're already in the ring when we go to this match, and then the Jumping Bomb Angels, the challengers, get a full entrance. What? Okay. Squeeze me?
So at first I thought the Glamour Girls were the champions, and so I was like, okay. And then they didn't get an entrance, and Jumping Bomb Angels did. So I thought, did they like win something at Survivor Series? Because, you know, they had won that match. But yeah, Justin, I don't know. That was bizarre. But did you notice we were making progress? We at least got the combined weights of each team rather than each individual woman. Didn't get any weights on the men's side. But then you kind of like, you're like, oh, that Jumping Bomb Angel's heavier, so she's most of that weight, you know? So I'm like, quit it with the weights, people. Quit it.
You're trying to split it up in your head.
Like, can you imagine if like Becky Lynch and Nia Jax went out and they said their weights? Like, people would be pissed.
Right. Yeah. Well, we talk a lot about wrestling gear. Once again, it looks like all 4 women here are wearing swimsuits that they got from Penny's. But the Glamour Girls have the addition of shiny hose under their swimsuits. And I cannot think of any time in human history that this would have been considered a good look.
Well, nude pantyhose is never a good look. I mean, and the fact that it's shiny, that's even worse. But you know, everybody, our dad, John, he has like his greatest fear is nude colored pantyhose, especially those little socks at shoe stores where like you have to try it on. Ew. Like, I do think that's gross, but it's that like an gross. Irrational phobia level fear of that for our dad. So a lot of good pranks over there. We should like do it for Christmas again this year. He's not expecting it. Like let's
give it a shot.
Let's make our niece give it to him and be like, here's a present for you, and make her really excited about giving it to him. So then he has to pretend he likes it. That'd be funny. Let's do it. Well, okay. So going back to Dino Bravo and now the Glamour Girls, like, bleaching hair has come a really long way, Justin. I know you bleached your hair at one point, and I remember you sitting in Mom's bathroom being like, it burns, it itches, and we're like, stop it, no, don't itch it. And then it was like, oh, we left her on for 40 minutes, not 14 minutes. Whoops.
Yeah, and hence all of this real estate that's up there right now.
Well, all of this blonde hair is just so yellow and damaged, and like these Glamour Girls, their manager is Jimmy Hart, right? So why didn't he give them some hair tips? Because his was just glorious. And I don't know, that brassiness, though. We need some purple shampoo up in the 80s. But
Jimmy Hart to this day still has that same haircut, and it still looks good for him.
Yeah,
that's pretty great.
He showed up on the Vince doc, and I screamed when I saw him. I was so excited to see him. But yeah.
All right, Michelle.
What?
Let's talk about it.
Oh, are you talking about the Vince comments that I referenced earlier?
Yeah,
aren't too much better, but okay. Tell me about it.
So on Survivor Series a couple weeks ago, if you listened to the show or watched it on YouTube, we mentioned that commentary didn't know the names of the jumping bomb angels individually. Well, that continues here. Jesse Ventura asked Vince McMahon what the angels' names are. Very clearly, he's putting Vince on the spot here. He knows Vince does not know the names of these women. And Vince's response as lead commentator for this show and behind the scenes, the owner of this company who would have signed these two to a deal. Unfortunately, I don't speak Japanese.
Oh.
Well, what do you just stare blankly when you go to a Japanese restaurant because you don't speak Japanese, or do you figure out how to order, Vince?
I know. I'm like, I might sound real white when I say it, but I can at least sound it out.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. And then Jesse pushes a little bit more and he says, what if I want to take one of them out on a date tonight? What do I call them? Bomb Angel? And Vince just decides the best thing to do is to base their names off of their ring gear. And so he replies, well, we'll call the one in the ring pink and the one on the outside of the ring red. And then throughout the match actually starts referring to them as pink and red.
Yeah, and it's almost like they planned that whole exchange just so he could call them red and pink and they would know like who you're talking about. It's like they set it up for the audience. But let's just talk about all the things wrong with this. Like, they can't tell them apart. They can't pronounce their names. So they decide to identify them by colors, like how we used to put like dots of nail polish on different turtles' backs so that we knew which one was which. Like, that's what they're doing to them. And then Jesse says he wants to take one out on a date. Like, who says that? Like, if he said that today, HR would call that sexual harassment. Like, this whole conversation was just awful. And who's to say they would want to go on a date with you, Jesse Ventura?
Yeah,
like,
that's true.
This whole section, I was just sitting there shaking my head. I was like, all right, is it me or Justin that's going to explain all of this?
I took it on. I took one for the team there.
Good for you. You do a better Vince impersonation, so...
It's all right. Jimmy Hart's on the outside with his megaphone. Now, can you imagine the nightmare if that woman in the front row still had their megaphone? Like, I legit might have turned this off and just told you you're on your own for this show because Jimmy Hart megaphone, that lady megaphone, no.
I mean, yeah, we stopped hearing from her, so I'm thinking they had to go and finally take it away from her. But I thought she was kind of funny. Like, when she used it appropriately, like when everyone's booing or cheering and she was yelling stuff, it was kind of funny. But honestly, I thought it was like a 14-year-old boy at first. And Mark was like, no, that's a woman. And it was hard to tell because of the hat. But
sure, yeah.
Oh, we need to get her on the show, Justin. You need to apologize.
Oh, boy. But only if she brings the cap and she speaks into her microphone through the megaphone.
I was about to say, she doesn't even get a microphone. She just gets a megaphone. It'll come through my mic.
Yeah. So here's a case of the rules not really mattering, or maybe there's some confusion. Judy Martin tries to tag in by slapping Leilani Kai's back, which, okay, that's still questionable to this day if that counts as a tag. But commentary agrees that it wasn't a legal tag because both of the competitors' feet have to be on the ground. So after this clearly illegal tag that was called out by commentary, what does the referee do? Well, he lets Judy Martin into the ring, no problem.
Did they not have like earpieces back then?
They did not.
Do the earpieces now, can they hear commentary or no?
I don't think they can hear commentary. No, just instructions from the back.
Gotcha. Well,
in fact, I'll tell you a little thing they used to do since they didn't have earpieces is when it would be time to end the match. Well, Howard Finkel would be sitting ringside and he'd have a headset on. And so whenever he would get the note that it was time to end the match, he would take a pencil and he put it to his lips like this. And if the wrestlers in the ring saw that, or the referee, that pencil to Howard Finkel's lips, they would know, okay, wrap it up.
I mean, I feel like that's very like sneaky, but also very obvious, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Well, the Glamour Girls, it's 2 out of 3 falls. They get the first pin and we go to commercial.
Yeah. So didn't realize this was a best 2 out of 3 thing at all. So like when they kept going after commercial, I was very confused. Like, when did they say that? Like, maybe I was too focused on the blonde hair brassy. Like, but like,
I think it was almost said in passing at the very beginning. Like, I wasn't even aware until the same point you were. And then I went, oh, this is 2 out of 3 falls. That's right.
Mhm.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I was very
Yeah.
confused because I'm like, wow, that match was short. I'm going to get up. And then the commercial ends. I was like, oh, crap, we're still going. Okay.
Yeah. Well, we come back from commercial and we're back on the whole topic of the names of the Jumping Bomb Angels. Oh my God. Vince says if he's not mistaken, the one in the ring is named Norino, which it's not. It's Norio. But Jesse says, sounds Italian to me. And Vince, just at this point, clearly wanting to move on, says, I don't know, Jesse. And then perfect timing. Jesse takes a beat and then quietly says, she don't look Italian. It made me laugh. That part funny. Made me laugh.
It's funny how he's trolling Vince, but this is the guy who calls Tito Santana Chico. So
that's true. That's true.
It was funny. I mean, I think it's funny because you talked about how that's his boss, and he's just like putting him on the spot. And I think it's because he knows he's not replaceable at this point. So
right, exactly.
That's funny.
Well, everybody gets in the ring before you see a sunset flip into a roll up, and the Jumping Bomb Angels have tied it up at 1 fall apiece. Ooh, it's getting good.
Well, it was the quickest 1, 2, 3 I've ever seen in a ref count. Like I actually laughed because like he barely even like picked his arm up. He was like 1, 2, 3. Like it was so fast, and I don't know why. I think it's because Judy or someone was like, whoever was not being pinned was coming into the ring, coming toward her, so he had to get it out real quick.
Yeah, probably so. Well, the remainder of the match is a whole lot of double teaming, and the teams are also on opposite corners of what we're used to today. One team facing the camera on the upper right of the screen, one team facing away from us on the lower left of the screen. Kind of disorienting when both of the major companies do it the opposite way now. But finally, there's a referee distraction. The Jumping Bomb Angels hit a double missile drop kick and get the 1, 2, 3 for the final fall. Jumping Bomb Angels win the match and the championships in 1540.
Hell yeah. So, I mean, that double missile drop kick was insane. But, you know, after this match, Justin, are we sure? I mean, we're never going to see the Jumping Bomb Angels again. So are we sure that they're not now the Young Bucks? Because have we ever seen all 4 of them in the same room? No. Because
I don't think so.
The way they hit all of these like twin-like moves, I'm pretty sure they're the Young Bucks. Pretty sure.
It could be. It could be. I mean, we've never actually confirmed. I mean, you know, the internet is what the internet is. Of course, they're going to tell us that their names are Matthew and Nick Jackson. I mean, but you can't trust the internet all the time. And on the replay, Jesse calls out the fact that the Glamour Girl's shoulder was not on the mat, and it wasn't. And Vince tries to argue that her shoulder blade was down, but I'm with Jesse on this one. That wasn't a legit pin.
No, I'm with Jesse too. And this reminds me of the Randy Orton incident like 6 months ago, maybe longer.
Oh yeah, him and who was it? It was Gunther at King of the Ring.
I was like, it was Logan Paul. No, Gunther. That's what it was. And then they kind of used it in storyline to make us question like if it was an accident or not. So it kind of reminded me of that. But the fact that Vince and Jesse were arguing about it so openly, I was like, so was that planned?
Yeah. Well, we're moving on from the match to another between match, I should say, segment. Almost time for the contract signing for the WWF Championship match at the Main Event TV special a couple of weeks from this event between the champion, Hulk Hogan, and the challenger, Andre the Giant. And this takes a while.
Can I just take a nap right now? Because
you know what? You might as well. You might as well, because I almost did. First off, Vince and Jesse show some clips. We see Hulk and Andre together at WrestleMania 3 facing each other, where it was argued that Andre got an early 3 count on Hogan that was counted as 2. Now, cut to a clip of the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase, offering to buy the WWF Championship from Hulk Hogan, to which Hulk Hogan says, "Hell no!" That's
very Ric Flair-esque. How he's like, oh,
kind of.
No.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
We finally see a clip of Andre attacking Hulk Hogan on Saturday night's Main Event and promising DiBiase that he will deliver him the WWF Championship. Now we're back live, and there's a table and 3 chairs in the ring. And let me just point out, you see these contract signings in the ring now, and they got a nice table with like draping on it and 2 nice big comfy folding chairs, kind of like I'm sitting in now, and everything looks so nice. Nah, man, they just like pulled out a table from some classroom and a couple of crappy chairs that they got at the Come and Get It
and
set them down, and that was it. But also in the ring, we have Andre the Giant, of course, Ted DiBiase, and his manservant, Virgil. We'll just leave that where it is. Yep. We also have Mean Gene Okerlund, who should get overtime pay, actually, after that Dino Bravo segment earlier, and WWF President Jack Tunney. And there's nothing that will make you yawn during a WWF show like Jack Tunney. Hogan makes his big entrance. Gene tries to get a comment from Jack Tunney, and ever the official commanding presence, Tunney ignores all the boos from the crowd and says, "Let's get with it and let's sit down." That's all he had to say. So Jack sits, Hulk sits, Andre does not sit.
No.
In fact, he just stands, slightly bouncing off of the ropes, expressionless. And he does this for a long time. A long time. He will not sit down.
Well, this drove me insane because it took forever. I even yelled at the TV, "What are we doing here?" Because I'm like, okay, nothing crazy's happening, so I'm going to play this game on my phone. And I'm playing my game for a while, and I look up, and he's still standing there. And I'm like, what the heck? I feel like 10 minutes has passed.
The whole time they're like, "Andre, please sit down. Sit down now, Andre. Andre, could you please sit down?"
What was the deal with that? Why? Like, was he just being defiant on purpose, or did he think it was a heel move? Like, I'm just like, was that planned? I'm just very confused.
I have no idea. These between match segments are way longer than they need to be, and they're killing the live crowd and the crowd at home.
For sure.
I mean, it's just bad. Finally, Andre sits down. Hulk signs the contract and slides the contract to Andre, and I'm thinking, okay, finally, this is going to move forward. So Andre takes the pen and starts reading the contract to himself, page by page, which, as you can imagine, also took forever.
Yeah, it did.
This took so long that I started looking at Hulk's clothes.
Me too.
Okay. He's wearing a skin-tight white shirt, skin-tight light blue leggings, knee-high white boots. He looked like he was just leaving the arena to go stand in line for a pumpkin latte.
Hey, no judgy. I like those things, but he really did. He really just needs one of those big goofy ass hats that these hoes be wearing these days. You know what I'm talking about? But I noticed his clothes too, and I thought, man, like that white shirt is so contrasting with his leather. Like, I don't even call it skin, it's leather.
Yeah. At this point, you can make 10 footballs out of Hulk Hogan. As Andre continues to peruse the contract, yes, still, Gene asks Jack Tunney, "Will anything keep Andre from signing this contract live in front of all these people in the arena and across the country?" And Jack Tunney, the executive brainiac, says, "I certainly hope not." Why? What are we doing? Finally, Andre signs the contract. Ted DiBiase tells him to put his stamp of approval on it, and Andre rams Hogan's head into the table. The bad guys leave while Hogan recovers in the ring. We recover on the couch. My God, this could have been less than 5 minutes.
Less than 5 minutes. I think it had to be at least 15. At least 15. From like start to finish. Oh, Justin, thank God we got through that, because the Royal Rumble match is next. Ooh. So, like you said earlier, we've got 20 competitors, and it's weird. It feels so short with 20. I was like, it's already over? What? We're not getting anyone else? But let's talk about a little match history. So, the concept of the Royal Rumble match was created by Hall of Famer and Vince's right-hand man, Pat Patterson. So, ahead of this show, they had actually tested this concept at a house show in St. Louis, but with only 12 participants. Ew. 20 was so low. How do you even do it with 12? But the winner was supposed to get a title match against Hulk Hogan the next time WWF returned to St. Louis. However, the finish was spoiled by the ring announcer who told the crowd that when they return to St. Louis, the main event will be Hulk Hogan versus One Man Gang.
Awesome.
Womp
Just
womp.
great.
So, unfortunately, surprisingly, that trial run didn't go very well, and the idea was kind of put on the shelf. So, when Vince McMahon went back to Dick Ebersol, Dick, the head of, I'm so mature. Needle, ew. The head of
Needle Ebersol.
Needle Ebersol. That was the name of my first high school band. Bam.
Ah, good
Bam.
Lord, there it is.
Well, this Dick was the head of NBC Sports. And so Vince went to talk to him about the show. And Ebersol didn't like how it was planned. So Vince then told Pat Patterson to describe the idea of the Royal Rumble match. And all of a sudden, Ebersol loved it. So he even gave Vince the idea to put the countdown clock on the screen before each entrant. So there were,
which is so smart.
Oh, definitely. But it actually,
so good.
It actually wasn't smart, and I'll tell you why later. But there were no stakes for winning the match. That's what's kind of weird. As those stipulations were like few years away, but I feel like it needs the match, like, because it kind of just feels like like, let's put over someone who's really popular, but we're never going to make a top guy or something. But anyway, we'll get to that.
Well, like we mentioned the Greatest Royal Rumble earlier, and Braun Strowman won that, and they even gave him a Greatest Royal Rumble belt, but it was never seen again after that night. So it was another one of those like, well, that was fun. Doesn't matter, but okay.
Right. Well, we've never covered a Royal Rumble before, so bear with us. We've organized this in the best way we think we can. But before we start, I have to say that the wrestler entrances are like night and day without music. Like, it is so much more exciting to have a wrestler's music hit than to just see them run in, because you kind of don't know who it is at first. You're squinting and
No, totally agreed. It'll be a few years before you see the music added to the entrances, but it makes a huge difference. You know what it reminds me of here when there's no entrance? Is like on those N64 wrestling games, like Revenge or something, and you do a battle royal or a Royal Rumble, and guys would run in, and it was just their weird disconnected head with their frozen face running towards the camera. That's what it reminded me of.
I loved Revenge. That was probably my favorite wrestling game, because they had like those weird made up wrestlers, like who?
Hanzo Man.
Yeah, there you go. And then if you go
Shogun,
he was one of my favorites.
There's actually one in there. I forget his name in the game, but he was modeled after Dr. Death Steve Williams, who we've covered on here.
Was it the Executioner?
But I forget no.
Who was that?
I can't remember what his name was in the game. I'll have to look it up. But
oh, man. Well, all I know is we don't play that game with my husband named Mark, because he will just hit you. Actually, I think it might be Mercy. It's one of the WWE games, but he will just hit you in the nuts and go ding the entire time, and he won't tell anyone else how he does it, and it's very frustrating. I don't play with you anymore.
And he sits there laughing at your pain, too.
I know, and like we can't even stand up our wrestlers before he comes back and dinks us in the balls again, and he won't even like
hits us right in the needle.
And like this is gonna be a thing for the rest of Wrestle Recap till we're like 60. This is gonna be a thing. Mark. But anyway, entrant number 1 is Bret the Hitman Hart, of course. And entrant number 2 is Tito Santana. So I thought it was kind of weird that the managers were all allowed to be there, because I kept seeing Jimmy Hart in his pink jacket running around, and I kept thinking Bret Hart got eliminated.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, that is weird. You don't see that much anymore. That is crazy. I mean, you don't see as many managers anymore, period. But also weird, right around here, they did a close-up of a kid in the crowd. And he has this half smile on his face. It's a total, like, I'm pooping myself right now smile. Like, it's kind of that, I'm showing you half of my teeth, but my eyes are very scared.
I thought it was weird. I was like, it felt like his mom was like, you're about to be on camera, smile. And he was just like, I don't wanna. Oh, gosh. Yeah. Well, we get entrant number 3, Butch Reed, and entrant number 4, Jim the Anvil Neidhart. And this is when they all start ganging up on poor Tito Santana.
Yeah.
What the heck?
Come on now.
Yeah.
What did Tito do to you, huh?
I know.
Well, they also, did you notice they forgot to put the clock up before Jim Neidhart came out there? So they're still working out the kinks here, but all of a sudden it's like, oh, Shit.
Yep.
There's Natalia's dad.
Yep.
Cool.
Notice that. And that's the thing is, with no music, they just kind of showed up out of nowhere. Like all of a sudden there's a new person in the ring and you're like, who came in? So entrant number 5 was Jake the Snake Roberts. And it was kind of cool. Jake snuck in because he had no music and he took out Butch Reed while Butch was just so focused on getting Tito over the ropes. He just flung Butch Reed over the ropes. It was great.
It's almost like you could say he snaked himself in.
Hey, yo, what jam? Boom.
Yeah, but Jake was like fiery baby face during this match. Like he's going around giving everybody their piece and the crowd is going nuts. He even at one point just makes this big baby face rah, to the crowd. You don't see that out of Jake very often. So it's kind of fun.
Oh my God. If he would have brought the snake, would that count as 2 entrants?
I don't want to think about that.
Oh, yeah, well.
Because then I have to think about the snake.
The needle. What?
All right, wait, no. No, that doesn't count.
That's a phrase. It's like
count.
drain the snake. That means pee, right? So you can drain the needle.
Jeez.
Lord.
Oh, boy.
I promise we're not going to have any more listeners. Everyone's tuned out, Justin. Well,
all right.
Butch Reed got eliminated by Jake Roberts for everyone who's still there out there in Radio Land. Around this time, we start getting the, timing, or that's what I'm saying. We at home, me and Mark started timing the 2-minute gaps. They were not 2 minutes. No, they ranged from 50 seconds to about 1 minute and 31 seconds, with only one of them actually being 2 minutes.
See, that's crazy. And I feel like that was a relatively new thing set up for what spots they wanted to happen and when. And in the early days, it was more legitimate. But if you timed them, you're saying they're not, then hey, I buy it. That's crazy. It's also around this time in the match that Jesse says that when he was in the Navy, he once bought rotten enchiladas from Tito down in Mexico. There's that. Anyway, what came next?
Did he say Tito or Chico?
I don't know.
What did come next? Okay, so then entrant number 6 is Harley Race, followed by entrant number 7, Jumpin' Jim Brunzell, a killer bee.
You like your killer bees. You do. You did. Now, if there was a real killer bee in the ring, I'd eliminate myself from the match and from my pants.
Well, if you allowed the snake in the ring, maybe he would eat the bee. Yep. So entrant number 8 is Mr. Sam Houston. And this was one of those moments where I really wish there was music, or maybe that Vince and Jesse would just be a little more clear on the mic when someone is coming in and like who they are. Because I didn't realize who Sam Houston was, because it's not super clear in the 80s, not super high def. And I feel like there was never that moment with any of the wrestlers of, and here is Sam Houston. Like with anyone, it was just kind of a casual talk, like, oh, no, Sam Houston, blah, blah. And I'm like, I need more clarity.
Especially because this is the first time we've seen Sam Houston since he made the jump from NWA. And so if you were watching this and you're used to both, you might have been sitting there at home before listening to this podcast going, wait, I thought that was an NWA guy. So yeah.
I was very confused. I had to like Google it. I was like, who is that guy? But Tito Santana got eliminated by Bret Hart and Jim Neidhart. Sorry, Tito. But entrant number 9 comes in. Dangerous Danny Davis. We talked about those Beetlejuice striped pants, but now there's red writing across his butt, and it looks like the old Foot Locker logo. Like, I'm gonna post a picture of this on our Twitter because it does. But does Foot Locker still exist?
I don't know. The thing is I can never remember the difference between Foot Locker and Foot Action.
Yeah.
Both had shoes, both had employees dressed as referees. We had both in our mall growing up, and I never knew the difference. But then Champs became a thing, and now it's all just too much. I don't know. Just go buy some shoes.
I just buy them online. But no, thank you for saying that, because I was sitting there, I was like, there was another foot store and could not remember for the life of me. I was like, and we had both of them, and it was very confusing. Where are we at in this Royal Rumble? Okay.
Number 10.
Number 10. Thank you, Justin. Entrant 10 is Boris Zukov, and entrant 11 is The Rock, Don Morocco, with Nikolai Volkov right behind him? Like, what was the deal with this? Because they made Nikolai wait until it was officially his turn to even get in the ring anyway. So was this a mistake or just something dumb they decided to do?
I have no idea, because my original thought was Nikolai was out there to distract the referees so they didn't see Boris Zukov get eliminated. But Boris was eliminated and the referees saw it. So I have no idea.
Yeah, he got eliminated by Jake Roberts and my killer bee. So there you go. So then finally, entrant number 12 is Nikolai Volkov, and he is allowed to enter the ring. So after that, Harley Race was eliminated by Don Morocco.
Murasau.
Every time I see it, I think of Murasau.
Well, did you see this? After Harley was eliminated, somebody in the front row threw something at him. I don't know what they threw at him, but you can see like several arena personnel go and give that person a talking to.
Yeah, I did see that. And then Harley Race is still kind of standing there, and those same little twerps, that's the best word I have for them, because they're like 14-year-old boys, are still talking crap. I think they called him fat or something. And I'm like,
oh, really?
Bro, you're going to get thrown out. You just got in trouble for throwing stuff at him. Like, what did he do to you?
There's one man you don't want to piss off. It's Harley Race.
Exactly. I don't know. They were on the front row. They were little rich kids that thought that they were protected, I guess. But entrant number 13, my favorite number, was Hacksaw Jim Duggan. And man, the crowd was so hot for him. And to me, he is so the Sami Zayn of 1988. Like his look, how he moves, and just like how everyone loves him.
You know, that's a good call. I mean, just somebody the crowd is solidly behind and is going to love whatever he does. Yeah.
Yeah. And he's just kind of goofy, like how he moves. And I don't know, his hair's kind of wild. I don't know. I just saw Sammy. But entrant number 14 is Outlaw Ron Bass, who he looked different to me. Did he look different? Maybe bigger?
Not that I noticed.
I don't know. There's a lot of Rons around here.
I don't know. The ring's getting really full at this point, to be honest. And it's now at that point where we're just seeing a bunch of punches and not much else. So it's hard to tell.
Yeah, I kind of like how they do it now, where it's kind of more like, all right, you guys take a break and recover, and we'll do a big spot here with it,
right,
rather than constant little action.
Right. You're not going to see that Ricochet and Logan Paul spot in the middle of one of these rumbles.
I'm waiting for that with Ospreay and Ricochet. It's just they're going to collide, and it's going to be an earthquake, and it's going to be incredible. Well, my killer bee, Jim Brunzell, was eliminated by stupid Nikolai Volkov. But guess what? Entrant number 15 is B. Brian Blair, a new killer bee to replace the old one. Hell yeah.
Who could have asked for more than another killer bee?
Oh my God, I love those killer bees, Justin. I'm going to cry the day that you say we're not going to see them anymore. I will be so upset.
I think it's coming up soon, actually.
No!
I'm not sure, but we'll see.
I'm sorry. They are like up there with Undertaker and Sting and Stone Cold.
Oh, good God almighty.
They are. The killer bees are
internet at Michelle Tater.
They're incredible, Justin. Well, entrant number 16 is Hillbilly Jim. He's Juice Robinson. That's all.
Hillbilly Juice.
Hillbilly Juice.
Which I think is another name for Mountain Dew, actually.
Oh, I love Mountain Dew. No, actually, I tried one of those recently. That is really sweet. I don't remember it being that sweet.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. I think once you hit 30, like, a little meter goes off in your mouth, and all of a sudden it's like Mountain Dew's just not good anymore. I don't know. But Jim Neidhart, he eliminates Hillbilly Jim right away. Kind of sad, but
then we get 17.
Yeah.
Dino Bravo.
Dino Bravo. Okay, so around, like, didn't he just bench press a lot? Like, why is he fighting?
Yeah.
That made no sense, right? But
I have no idea.
Around this time, I keep hearing the crowd chanting something. And I realized that they were chanting DDT at Jake Roberts because, like you said, they were super into Jake. But I legit, like, I had to really listen because I thought they were just doing the yeet, yeet. Because it was DDT. So I was like, yeet, yeet, yeet.
It's a triple yeet, 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 yeet.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I think they were chanting for him to hit the DDT on Danny Davis. Like, the crowd still hates Danny Davis. Still, that, like, this story's been going on forever. So, I mean, he's doing something right, I guess. Good on him.
Yeah, I mean, even I don't like Danny Davis, and I don't even like know the full story or anything. He's just got an ick vibe. He gives me the ick. I love that.
I feel you.
Yeah.
I feel you.
Well, Sam Houston is eliminated by Ron Bass. And then entrant number 18, the Ultimate Warrior. Whoa.
Yeah.
Were you excited when he ran out?
Yeah, I was more confused because again, like you said, no music.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was like, well, we haven't seen him on a pay-per-view yet. And really it almost seemed underwhelming when he came out.
Yeah.
It was like, okay.
And like, where was he at in like his star power at that point? Like, I'm guessing not very big yet.
Yeah, I mean, he hadn't won any championships yet. I don't think that would come later this year, I believe.
Okay.
So, I mean, he was still relatively new. I think right before this, he had probably been in Dallas as the Dingo Warrior. So
the Dingo Warrior.
Yeah.
That's funny. Well,
yeah.
as you said, this is our first time we've seen him on a pay-per-view, and man, he came in hot. Like, he had his bright red and yellow gear. He was looking like ketchup and mustard, and he was the tan weenie right in the middle. Hot dog.
Like, this show is, I need to shower.
I wasn't being gross about that. You're the one that turned that gross. I was literally thinking of a hot dog because he's so tan and he has the
yeah, I
red
know,
and
but I'm wearing myself out over here. Just my own brain is just it. Anyway, Warrior, by the way, he gets in the ring, does these half-ass chops to Ron Bass's shoulder in the corner. Power of the Warrior. Yay. It was really bad.
It was bad. Well, sadly, Bret Hart was eliminated by Don Murasau Morocco. And then finally they realized, hey, we got to clear out the ring because we've got entrant number 19, One Man Gang. B. Brian Blair is eliminated by One Man Gang. And then Jake Roberts got eliminated by One Man Gang. So there. Entrant number 20 is my boy JYD Junkyard Dog. And then Nikolai Volkov gets eliminated by Jim Duggan. Hillbilly Jim gets eliminated by One Man Gang. Danny Davis gets eliminated by Jim Duggan. Y'all following me here? Ultimate Warrior got eliminated by Dino Bravo. And then the Junkyard Dog got eliminated by Ron Bass. And like, man, from all of that, what I got was that Ultimate Warrior and JYD didn't last long at all. I was surprised.
No. Yeah, no. I mean, you would think, especially, I mean, JYD, when you think that just a couple years before this, they had him win the Wrestling Classic tournament and then nothing.
Yeah, he was in there for like 2 minutes, if that. I was surprised, but
yeah.
Ron Bass is eliminated by Don Murasau Morocco. Why didn't I say that a long time ago? And we've got the final four. Dun, dun, dun. We've got Dino Bravo, Don Morocco, Jim Duggan, and One Man Gang. So Don Morocco was eliminated by Dino Bravo and One Man Gang. They teamed up on him.
Yeah, that's right. And then with Morocco gone, Bravo and Gang start teaming up on Duggan. And then Duggan ducks a clothesline and One Man Gang eliminates Dino Bravo. So now we're down to 2.
And I was like, oh man, like the size difference. I was like, how is he going to do this? And it was like Sammy and Gunther all over again.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing. Like at this point, it really could have been either guy as the winner, Duggan or One Man Gang, because Gang had been really destructive, throwing people out left and right, but Duggan was the crowd favorite. So it really could have gone either way here.
Yeah. And based on what you said about, how like the test match One Man Gang was supposed to win, I wondered like, oh, is this how it's gonna go? But no, Hacksaw Jim Duggan wins the match in 33 minutes and 25 seconds, and I'm so glad he won. What did you think about that?
I mean, it makes sense. You know, there's no stakes.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't have really hurt to have either guy win, but as a send them home happy thing, hey, this is the first one. It's on national cable. Have Hacksaw Jim Duggan win. The crowd loves him. I totally get it.
Yeah, man, he was so freaking over with that. So I agree. So I've got another question for you. Not really related to this match, but obviously the Royal Rumble is our favorite pay-per-view of all time. Like, we just love that show. So in the history of Royal Rumble, what was your favorite moment?
Oh,
and
boy.
if you can't pick one, I will allow one and an honorable mention.
So I'm not going to go with Vince tearing both of his quads. I
forgot about
will
that.
say an actual wrestling moment. I don't remember the year. It was sometime in the 2000s when John Cena was supposed to be out recovering from surgery for something like 8 to 12 months. And then number 30 hits in the Rumble, and it's John Cena, who is back within like 6 months or something like that, came out of nowhere. And that was one of those moments that made me go, whoa, that's awesome.
Yeah. That's a pretty
What
good
about
one.
yours? Do you have a favorite one?
I do. So I have two because I thought one was really cool. And so I'll give you my honorable mention first. It was in the late 90s. And I remember watching this with you. And it was when Mick Foley came out as Cactus Jack, Dude Love, and Mankind. Like, I just thought that was so like brilliant. But honestly, Justin, it's gotta be Edge. I cried.
When Edge returned a few years ago. Yeah.
Yep. I think it was in 2020. And you just hear that, Shh, you think you know me. And like, oh man, I gave myself chills just now. Like I was in tears because I loved Edge back then. And I loved Christian and Gangrel. I loved their whole creepy vampire thing. And Edge was like Bay in the 90s. He had that bright smile. Oh, I can't wait for him to get back to AEW. I need
no, that was a big moment, especially if you watched that documentary that they did about him leading up to that night. Is really incredible. Really good stuff.
He just seems like such a nice guy. Like, oh, I can't wait for him and Christian to have a feud and then to team up one more time. One more. Well, anyway, so that was the Royal Rumble. It was really, I was impressed. I just wish it would have been longer. I wish we had more entrants because I could have watched that thing all day, see people come out. But go back to Vince and Jesse at the desk who were just kind of vamping. And then Hulk Hogan gives a very Hulk promo stating that he beat Andre at WrestleMania 3 and he will do it again. And he also says that the Hulkamaniacs don't have a prize for Ted DiBiase. He says you can go suck it, basically.
Yeah, it's another Hulk promo.
I don't know why we needed so much Hulk and Andre stuff when they weren't wrestling on this show. Like,
I don't get it. It was a lot. Speaking of a lot, you would think that the Royal Rumble was the final match on this show.
Oh, you would hope.
You would think that Michelle and I are about to say, okay, well, here's what's coming up next week, and we'll see you next time on Wrestle Recap. But no.
No.
Mm-mm. We now have a 2 out of falls tag team match. 2 out of 3 falls. Between whom? Are you thinking about the hottest tag teams of the day for the WWF Tag Team Championship?
You mean the Killer Bees?
No, not even them. It's the Islanders, Haku and Tama, against the Young Stallions, Jim Powers and Paul Roma. So we're going to do our duty on this show and cover this match because we have to. That's the only reason. Why did we do this? Why was this match a thing?
I don't know. I was so uninterested in this match after the Royal Rumble. And really, I feel like even if it was like the top guys, I probably would have still like been uninterested because it's like, you know, you get an adrenaline rush and you're loving this match. And then it's like, it just went downhill. I have no idea. And like, even if you demand to have this match, put it somewhere else.
It was like you finished the Royal Rumble modern day with having the Authors of Pain versus like the team of, I don't know, Giovanni Vinci and Dante Chen.
Yeah.
It was just like, what are we doing here? But anyway, I noticed that Bobby Heenan did not come out with the Islanders. And he also didn't come out with Rick Rude earlier, but Jesse explained this by saying that Bobby was on vacation in Barbados and it was paid for by Ted DiBiase as part of the deal for selling Andre the Giant's contract to Ted. And I kind of miss this idea of managers owning their talents' contracts.
Yeah, it adds a lot to the storyline of it all. I think it's one more piece that we get to, you know, integrate into drama and characters and stuff. So yeah, I agree. I wonder like why they stopped doing that or kind of when. I'm guessing early 2000, maybe even late 90s.
Yeah, maybe so. They really started whittling down on the managers after a while.
Yeah.
So it was probably around there. But apparently the Islanders were just coming off of a suspension and storyline for kidnapping the British Bulldog's pet, Matilda.
Yeah, they said that she was distraught and she had lost weight. And I'm like, Jesse, why are you so obsessed with Matilda's weight? Like, you were calling her fat last time. Now you're saying she's too skinny for you? Ah.
Do you drink it because you're fat?
Oh my God, I love Napoleon Dynamite.
The Islanders are supposed to be these foreign savages, right?
Mm-hmm.
But after taking out one of the young stallions, Tama goes right to the camera and says, "Get that fool out of my way. How you like that, Matilda?" So that killed that. Vince says this has been an exciting night. He does not say it's been a happening, but he says that the only thing that almost put him to sleep was the whole Dino Bravo bench pressing segment. Kind of sounded like maybe that was real Vince coming out there.
Okay, well, like, wasn't he in charge? Like, wasn't that his idea? Didn't he clear that?
Yeah, of course, but I have to wonder, like, did he not know it was going to be that much of a shit show? Like, it was so bad. It was so bad. I don't know.
How did he not know?
But Vince almost comments on the length of one of the Islanders' toes, saying he could hang from the top rope by those toes. And Jesse says that sounds like a racist remark to him. And, you know, I find myself agreeing with Jesse more often than not.
If Jesse's calling you racist back in this time period, I'm not saying that Jesse Ventura is a racist or anything, but he made some off-color comments. So if he's calling you out, that's pretty bad. But I will say, though, I do hate them wrestling barefoot. You know me in barefoot wrestling. Like, that's just asking for a toe to stick up at a 90-degree angle. Like I know. Ooh, God. I hate it.
Can't do it.
Nope.
Well, Paul Roma is thrown out of the ring and is counted out for the first fall. That's right. The first fall was an exciting count out. And then we go to commercial. Now, remember how we said everything on this show is longer than it needs to be. Yes. I mean, we're already in a 2 out of 3 falls match. Well, we come back from commercial and the young stallions are in the dressing room.
Yeah.
They're not in the ring. So, okay. We go to a recap of the Andre and Hulk contract signing. Come back. Still no young stallions. Okay. So then we have an entire live interview with Craig DeGeorge interviewing Ted DiBiase, Virgil, and Andre the Giant. Still no young stallions.
Yeah. I don't know why they cut to an interview in the middle of a match. And it's like they decided last minute they wanted to get that in, but they knew if they did it after, the people wouldn't stick around to listen. So they just did it. But I will say there was a shining moment in this. Did you see Craig DeGeorge's face when Andre yelled at him to shut up?
No.
Oh my gosh, you gotta. I wonder if I can even like find it on YouTube. Craig looked like he was going to cry. Like he even kept like blinking quickly, like acting like he was trying to get rid of tears. It was pretty funny. Like that was a really good. I just happened to look at him and keep watching him, and it was very, very comical. Very much a choice.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it.
Mm-hmm.
So all this is going on clearly at this point. I think they're just trying to fill satellite time and pay-per-view windows, that sort of thing. Because why in the world would this show be intentionally scheduled like this with a random match with no stakes, no title, going after the show's namesake? Like this makes zero sense. Finally, the young stallions return. Paul Roma submits to a submission move. This just sucked. Like, the Islanders win 2 straight falls in about 15 minutes. I legit nodded off at one point during this match.
It was, man, that match was only 14 minutes and 59 seconds long. Good God. Like, because you watched it like on Monday or something first, and then I watched it like the day after, and I texted you, and I said, this last match is dragging. And you were like, yup. Like, I thought it was just going to be me and my, like, unable to focus brain. I thought I was just like, it was just me. But when you agreed with me, I knew I was legit. But good Lord, I have no idea. This is one of those, but like, as like throughout the years and the upcoming decades that we covered, there are so many things that we say, why the hell would you do that? And it was a Vince decision. And I'm like, and he saw it so clearly when no one else did, and it didn't work. And this is one of those. That and the bench press.
That too. Well, speaking of Vince, after the match, we go back to Vince and Jesse at the desk. Now you can see that most of the crowd has already left. So they're still in time killing mode. So they recap the Rumble match. And then they recap the Dino Bravo bench press thing. Then they recap the Hogan Andre thing. And then finally, mercifully, they bid us good night and the show goes off the air. And that one's done. So overall, what are your final thoughts on this show?
My final thoughts, I think I said it before we even got into the whole show, that I feel like they could have fit in like 2 more matches, and all the time they just burned with boring stuff. And I don't know why they didn't. That's just very strange to me. But as for the Royal Rumble itself, I thought it was pretty good. I think there were kinks to work out. I feel like, again, like we said, they need to get the spacing figured out so they can have these big moments more. But I really love the Royal Rumble. I'm excited that they develop it more and end up doing 30, and how it kind of became like a way to like bring back old wrestlers who may, like Booker T. Like, we were so excited, and he didn't do much, and he's not going to do anything else. Like, he's not going to do more matches, but it was a fun little opportunity. So I like the show. That Islanders match was just boring, but overall, I thought it was good. I probably would have enjoyed it more with Gorilla Monsoon. Even I've been talking crap about his gorilla-isms, and now I missed them. What?
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, my big gripe with the show was just how it was stacked, what happened when, and stuff that didn't need to happen. Like that Dino Bravo thing, that could have been on an episode of Superstars.
Yeah.
And like, I get maybe doing the contract signing on this show since the big match was like 2 weeks away, but it didn't need to be that long.
And they could have made it more exciting.
Yeah, it was just, as an overall show, I'm about it. But the fact that it is the Royal Rumble and it kicks off a pay-per-view that we still have every year to this day that I look forward to the whole wrestling year. All right. I can get done with that. So tell us what happened after this pay-per-view, because there's some really interesting stuff coming out of this.
Okay. So we've got the Jumping Bomb Angels. They would hold the women's tag team titles until June, when they would drop the titles back to the Glamour Girls. But unfortunately, the women's tag team championship would be retired before the end of the year. I don't know why they did that. I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah, with no stakes in the Royal Rumble match, there was really no follow-up or fallout. I think they just gave Jim Duggan that win. Like I said, it's almost like they knew they were never going to put like the top title on him, but it's like the Miss Congeniality Award. That's how I feel. Like, it's not really a win, but it is. Everyone likes you. But the real story came from the contract signing between Hulk Hogan and Andre the Giant. Now, just a couple of weeks after the Royal Rumble, Hulk and Andre fought for the WWF Championship on a TV special called The Main Event. Hulk Hogan pinned Andre, but the referee was distracted by Virgil on the outside. And that set up the finish where Andre pinned Hogan, even though Hogan's shoulders were not on the mat. So Andre was declared the winner, and as promised, immediately surrendered the WWF Championship to Ted DiBiase. However, WWF President Jack Tunney declared that the title change was invalid, rendering the WWF Championship vacant. What?
Yeah,
what?
No champion.
What? How do you have WWF with no champion? Furthermore, it was revealed that Dave Hebner, the scheduled referee for the Hogan-Andre match, had been tied up backstage. But who was the referee in the ring? Hogan accused DiBiase of paying for somebody to get plastic surgery to look like Dave Hebner. But guess who it was? It was Earl Hebner, who had secretly come over from the NWA and was paid off by Ted DiBiase to call the match for Andre. We're getting into some good stuff, man.
Yeah, big fun storyline. I remember just thinking, how is there 2 of these referees? And then I started studying more about wrestling, because this was just a few years before my time watching wrestling. And I went, oh my God, that's brilliant.
It is brilliant.
It's so good.
And if you watch Mr. McMahon, he thinks it's real fun to steal talent, but when people do it to him, it's a travesty. So.
Of course.
Well, Justin, hit me with some final
wrestle stats.
There's the wrestle stats. Okay, so on WWF pay-per-views only, so far, we have a 4-way tie for the most matches on WWF pay-per-view among the men. It's the Junkyard Dog, Randy Savage, Ricky Steamboat, and Tito Santana, all of whom have had 7 matches on WWF pay-per-view at this point. And on the women's side, the most is Leilani Kai with 3. So that's pretty good. The most wins, that's held by one man, Ricky Steamboat, who has won 6 matches on WWF pay-per-view at this point. And there's a tie for the women at 2 wins for the Fabulous Moolah and the Jumping Bomb Angels.
Cool.
And then for the most losses, there's a tie. Nikolai Volkov and Don Morocco have each lost 4 matches on pay-per-view. Leilani Kai has lost 3, basically every match she's been in on pay-per-view at this point.
Poor Leilani, and now she's got to get her hip replaced.
I'm telling you, it never ends.
Never ends.
Never ends. Now, there were no rematches on this show, so rematch percentage went down to 1.79%, and there was one title match on this show that brought title match percentage up to 19.64%. If you like stats like that, and you want to hear it for modern day wrestling, AEW, WWE, ROH, TNA, there's one place to go, WrestleStats.com. It went live this past week, and it is so much more visual than it used to be. You can also follow on Twitter at WrestleStats, and you get cool stats every single day. What about you, Michelle?
Well, you know what? I'm going to plug you a little bit more because this guy, he works hard on these Rassle stats, and he actually has a Patreon now. So you get a lot of stats for free. You can sign up and be free, and you get all kinds of stats. But for just $1 a month, you get all of them, man. Like, come on, like $1, you can't even like buy anything, like maybe a gumball for $1 these days. So go over, support Justin and his Rassle stats. It's a labor of love, but it's really cool. I look at stats all the time. So there you go.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Indeed.
So why don't you tell us where we're going next week here on Rassle Recap?
I was like, where are we going?
Rassle stats again.
Yes. Well, next week, I'm so excited, especially now that I know the title's vacant. We are going to be covering the WWF WrestleMania 4. Ooh, a one-night tournament, but unlike the Wrestling Classic, it doesn't have Susan. No, I'm just kidding. This dang, I love Susan. Bring her back. This tournament has no. This tournament actually has stakes, big stakes. The winner of the tournament, Justin, at WrestleMania 4 is the new WWF champion.
Ooh, it's going to be a good one. It is going to be so much fun. I can't wait to cover this show next week.
I know, but you know what's going to make me mad is if it just goes right back to Hulk Hogan.
Listen, brother, I had to kill Andre the Giant just to defeat him. I felt bad. I felt really bad.
And I cut off his needle to prove it.
Oh my God, that's a big needle.